Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're at question number 203 for DevOps and SRE interviews. The goal of making these videos is for you to feel ready and confident walking into a DevOps and SRE interview. Uh, um, I've been covering the 15 most important topics in as much depth and width as possible. That way, if you go through these quick videos, you get a better sense of the interview questions, and also you feel more confident going into the interview. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. It's nothing for you, but it actually makes a huge difference in my channel. So I would really appreciate if you did do that. If you may already know from my other videos that I did some research on LinkedIn based on job descriptions, and these are the 15 topics I came up with that are most important to prepare for DevOps and SRE interviews. The ones at the top are more important than the ones at the bottom, but the ones at the bottom are also not negligible. That's why they're on the list. So you do need to spend some time studying the top 8 or 9 as well, but of course spend more time on the first 5 or 6. Those are more important. Today we have a question that's actually AWS and security question combined. So we're covering two topics all at once. Number one, AWS/cloud. And also we're covering security in AWS. So this is going to cover both topics. The question today is, when designing VPCs in AWS, what are the top security best practices? What things that you should generally try to follow so that by default your VPC is secure? What things do you do? Here, the interviewer is actually looking for first of all, he or she is looking for your idea of what it takes to create a VPC, but also when you were talking about that, you should know how to make it secure. Because if you just go with default things, sometimes things are not what you intend to be in terms of security. So really, the focus here is for the interviewer to know that you know how to think about security when you are actually doing a virtual private cloud, which is a network thing. Okay, so just to quick reminder, my advisor is giving away a 1 hour session. Floyd Spencer is the name, and this is the website. This is not an ad, and I'm not financially affiliated with him, but he's so passionate, so helpful that it would be very beneficial to you. Okay, so here are the five. There are tons more we can talk about, but these are the top five. Again, you don't have to know all of these. As long as you can bring up maybe 3 or 4 things um, uh, about how to make a VPC secure, then you're good to go. And nobody expects you to have all these things memorized, only the ideas and the concept, right? And if you have the ideas and the concept, some of this should flow automatically from your head. Okay, so first of all, within the VPC, you have to have public and private subnets. Public subnets will hold only the resources that are publicly available, like the web servers. Everything else that do not need interaction with the client on the internet should not live in the public subnet. So most of your things should really live in a private subnet. Number two, you must use security groups. This is really a bad name, but really what they are firewall rules. So basically, you will control be using security group what kind of traffic is allowed from where to where. That way, you specifically allow traffic, and by default, all traffic is denied. That should be the case. You should also use ACLs for external traffic, so you don't allow just any traffic to come into your VPC. Number three, you should enable VPC flow logs, because if an incident happens, or if you just want to see what kind of traffic you are getting, those logs will allow you to see what traffics are actually happening. And VPC flow logs are actually not very expensive, so you should by default you should really enable that. Number four, uh, there is such a thing called a VPC endpoint. What that means is really for resources to communicate for two resources to communicate between each other, right? If they're both AWS resources, oftentimes AWS has a way for creating these VPC endpoints. That means that it will not traverse the internet. So let's say that you have S3 bucket, or you have a DynamoDB, and you have an EC2. They're communicating between each other. There is no reason for that traffic to go out of AWS and go out to the internet and come back in to the S3 endpoint, right? So AWS allows these VPC endpoints to be created so that those traffic stay within AWS. So it's super, super secure and it has no exposure to the internet. Number five, you should always use, well, not always, but most of the time, you should always use WAFs and NAT gateways, because WAFs will actually, it's like a firewall for layer 7. If you don't know what that is, you should look that up on different videos. But WAFs will protect your traffic at a much granular level. You should, of course, always use NAT gateways for traffic to your private resources. That way, traffic can only the IP addresses and such information is not exposed to the client from outside. So it's kind of like what you have at home. If you have Wi-Fi network, your IP is you only have one IP going out, right? The resources out in the internet do not know about the IP addresses that you have on your laptop, your iPhone, what have you. That's because your devices at home are actually using a NAT gateway to communicate with the outside, and the outside only sees one IP. They don't see multiple IPs. All right. I hope if you found this useful. If you did, either way, if you have more questions, please find me on LinkedIn or just leave a comment below. I hope you found this useful, and I will see you in the next one.